This podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
I'm Chuck Norris, and I approve this game.
Between the time when gamers played with miniatures and chainmail and the rise of the Wizards of the Coast, there was an age of advanced role-playing undreamed of. And onto the Skygax, destined to bear the jeweled crown of TSR upon a troubled brow, it was given to teach us all how to roll for initiative.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Roll for Initiative podcast. This is volume number 3, issue number 138. DM Vince is sitting alongside DM Matt.
Hello, everyone.
And DM Nick.
Hi, folks.
DM Chad has the week off. He has a bunch of little girls over his house because his daughter had a nice big slumber party. So he's bombarded by little tweeners.
Yes, they're probably all hopped up on sugar and watching the whole Twilight series.
Yes.
Anyway, if you've never listened to the show before, we are a podcast that is dedicated to Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition. We follow the books, probably not as written, sorry, but we follow it best that we can based on our experiences, but we just use the books at hand.
We use them as guidelines, as the book tells us.
That's
Guidelines.
Right. Guidelines. Just for those out there that question, yes, we do approve you to use Osric if you'd like to try out it without buying the books. By all means, just do a quick search for Osric RPG. You'll find that it's basically the same thing as First Edition, just a few house rules added to clear up a little bit of the confusion of the writing of the Gygaxian.
Yeah.
Some people don't understand the Gygaxian writing. That's no problem if you come from a newer generation. Once you're done with that, we say definitely go out and spend the money on the books, either the Wizard of the Coast reprints or the originals. Either one works. We definitely would like you to do that.
And most of all, just have fun.
Yeah.
Kill monsters, get experience points, take their stuff.
Yes, and make sure you do gold for experience.
You had to do that. You had to do that.
Yeah, a little.
You had to do that to me.
Dick got involved in a little tirade with someone.
Yeah, but we let it go. Let it go.
About how, if you're not using gold for XP, you're not playing the game correctly. That is, I brought that up for a specific reason because everybody plays the game how they want to play the game. And if you're not using one rule over another rule, doesn't mean you're not playing the game right. There is no right way to play the game. It's just however you have fun playing the game.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
It's just maintain the fun. If people are enjoying it and they're going, oh, I can't wait to the next adventure, then you know you're playing the game correctly.
You're right. The point of D&D is to have fun, not win.
Yeah. You don't need to be like Chevy Chase saying, I won Dungeons & Dragons, and it was advanced.
And it was advanced.
Yes, see the Community episode of that TV show.
Yes, that was very good.
So, we're back. We want to look at our stars on iTunes. Nick, we're going to head over to you. Do we have anything for Mr. Christopher Walken this week?
Yes, Mr. Christopher Walken, he looked over at iTunes and I found we have a new star.
Uh-oh.
Kudos to the RFI team and 5 stars. Wow. Hey, new stuff. Anyway.
It's like he might be drunk or something. I don't know.
No. I'm not drinking. Just a little tired.
All right.
Chasing after my dog.
So what does the review say, Christopher?
Yes.
I started listening to RFI podcast early last year. And went back to episode 1 and listened to every episode in your anthology up to and including the most recently post-play by mail podcast. Wow.
Are you ad-libbing?
No.
Oh, okay.
I can't do the rest. I just can't do it.
All right.
Anyway, but he says it is a great podcast, and I look forward to it. I got through the first sentence. I think each host brings something different to the team, but that is fantastic for the listener. Chad is a fantastic recent addition. Nick and Matt are great contributors, and even though I did not like evil DM Vince at the beginning of the show, I have grown to respect his opinions and realize he is the rock, which keeps the show steady and going. So you're like the rock.
Yeah.
Can you do the eyebrow thing?
What I'm cooking? I'm sorry. I'm the chairman.
I do miss. He goes on to say, I do miss Jason and like to see him occasionally return. Even Will had his good moments. In fact, only DM Crispy made me vomit in my mouth and I could never hear him again. Those episodes were -3 to save versus death rate, but luckily I made my saving throws. Sorry, Crispy. Keep up the great work from Nick in Houston.
Nick, is that you?
No, it's a different Nick. It's my evil twin.
Okay.
My evil twin, so...
Never knew you had a blood feud with Crispy.
I need him vomit in his mouth. Oh my gosh. Well, we're sorry to hear that, but Crispy comes on when he, if we need a fill-in host. So apparently we will not make that a mistake in the future because we don't want people vomiting in their mouths. But this was just one guy. So,
Crispy's a good little host, and I mean, he's been busy with school, so he hasn't been on for a while. So
So thank you, Nick in Houston, to give us a review on iTunes. And just to remind everyone, go ahead, head over to iTunes, give us a review, good or bad, indifferent. We don't care. Just go ahead there and go to the iTunes store, look us up, roll for initiative, and you can type in your review there. And also, all of our episodes can be listened to and or downloaded from iTunes for your listening pleasure.
Or you can go directly to the website and access the link that Matt posts in every show.
You could do that. There's many different ways. There's a plethora.
A plethora?
A plethora.
Oh. Or you can just call Matt directly at 5... Oh, sorry. No.
No. No one gets the bat phone.
All right. No, you can actually hit us up on the forums, OSRgaming.org, if you have a problem listening, and I'm sure Matt will advise you how to get the show downloaded if you're really having a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
He's very good with that, and he usually responds within a week or two. So
yeah. Occasionally. I may get to it eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
Mm-hmm.
He's very busy.
But yes, very, very busy.
Very busy. So, Matt, tell us, what's the update on your wrestling career? Last time I heard you were going in the ring for a match.
Yeah, that happened last night, and I arose victorious. Yeah, it was fun and interesting, and I will be having yet one more match. This past one was a tag team match, and this will actually be a singles match at the UAW Hall in Fairfield on March 22nd.
So let's take a little dive into that real quick, and I don't want to interrupt the show, but I'm just curious myself, how much practice time did you have for the moves? And
0.
Impromptu?
Exactly.
Wow, all right.
Nice.
Yeah, sometimes you just go in there and you do it. I've been around long enough that I guess through osmosis I can fake my way through a match.
And what moves were you able to do in the match?
Move out of the way.
Of course.
Did that. I was the cousin Luke in the battering ram.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then we have a little thing that my partner, Roger Ruffin, his finishing move, we call the Scooby-Doo, because the opponent will be laying in the corner, and he just runs at you and jumps and starts running in place on your chest while you're laying in the corner.
Oh, okay, like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, exactly. So
you gotta make the Scooby-Doo noise. You go,
Ruh-roh. But yeah, so yes, I ended up doing the Scooby-Doo and absolutely killed the guy because, yes, I was wearing actual steel-toed combat boots.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yes.
To wrap this up, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pain did you take?
That would be a big old 0.
Really?
Yes.
So you moved out of the way of everything. Okay.
Yes. Yes, and there was a hot tag made involving lightsabers. Because apparently if you throw a lightsaber to another person and you touch your lightsaber with their lightsaber, that constitutes a tag.
that's a rather obscure rule, I guess, in the rules.
Yes.
Rather obscure rule in
But
the
fortunately,
rules.
it worked to my team's advantage. We did
Good.
make tags with lightsabers, and
It's probably
so your
more.
lightsabers touch tips.
we crossed swords.
We cross swords and touch tips.
Yes, exactly.
Probably more of an indie rule than anything else, but
I don't know. Have you ever? No one's ever tried using it in WWE. If someone would bring two lightsabers to the ring during a tag match and they were to touch, they would probably count as a tag. Just saying.
I would. All I know is if I were going to do it, I still say I would have to be a masked Mexican wrestler named El Grande Tigre, the Great Tiger.
Yes,
Rawr.
well, your logic does apply there because per the rules of wrestling that are fake, any extension of the body, because you can hold the rope where you're supposed to hold the corner of where your position is.
Yep.
To tag counts as a tag, so I would assume that anything in your hand used to extend to something else in someone else's hand would constitute as a tag.
Exactly.
And that includes lightsabers.
Logic is right then.
Well, wait a minute. How did a lightsaber get involved with
Well, I may or may not. Well, the guys in wrestling, it was just as like an inside joke. They were referred to me as Star Wars, so we just took that and ran with it.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I may or may not have came out in a Jedi cloak, and I may or may not have been holding two lightsabers and coming out to the Star Wars theme.
Oh, jeez. So you're a Jedi or a Sith?
A Jedi.
Oh, well. forget about that.
No, you have to. I become a Sith when I turn heel.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Then
Duh.
you shall have to
I have-
battle El Grande Tigre.
Grande Tigre, oh no.
We'll have to battle El Torito.
El
El
Torito.
Torito.
El Torito needs to take a giant swing from Cesaro.
Yes. Speaking of Cesaro, he was getting some major pops recently, but it's for a different time. So anyway, Nick, what have you been doing in your gaming world?
Just actually, what was it? Last weekend, it was the kids campaign for Temple of Elemental Evil, and that was it was going pretty well. I think I finally figured out that after about 2 hours of game time, you need to take about a half-hour break because the attention span's just not there. So I'm going to build that in next time. We'll play for 2 hours, about a half-hour break, and then we'll come back to the game. So, but that's been going pretty well. They actually got to the water temple, and they've done well. They've done well. They're having a good time though. So, the one player totally forgot that he had a pseudo dragon familiar and all the cool stuff it could do. So it's like, everybody had to gently remind him, yeah, you got a pseudo dragon. He's got like 35% magic resistance. He's almost invisible. So that's a huge asset. So,
Cool. Definitely cool. I haven't really been doing much gaming myself. We just came back from a small getaway, my wife and I. The only thing I've been working on is the new edition of Mazes and Perils. I'm going forward with that. It's the Mazes and Perils Expanded Edition. There's a lot more material, more classes, more races, more spells, more everything. It's looking to be a full book now at this point.
It's going to be more awesome, huh?
More awesome packed into awesome.
That's what we need.
That's correct. And network news, the Dead Game Society podcast has finally debuted.
No.
Yes. Episode 1 has dropped for the Dead Game Society, and you can head over to dgsociety.net. Pulling the website up right now. And you get to listen to episode number 1 of the Dead Game Society.
Wow.
And just to give you a tiny little taste, I think I could do this.
This is Tori from the Dead Game Society. Welcome to our podcast. The DGS, we play with dead things.
And there's just a small taste of the podcast intro.
Oh, I was getting into that.
Oh, well, then you can just go download it, Nick, at deadgamesociety.net.
I guess I will.
You could join Colin, Michael, and Chad as they kick off the podcast that talks about the great games and the games editions no longer in a print. Basically, they just do an introductory episode. Feel free to go over there and comment, and there'll be a lot more coming from them because episode 2 I'll be uploading from them shortly. And you'll see that too. So they'll be going through. I think their plan is to go through some of the Dungeons and Dragons stuff as their base, and then from there expand out.
Very cool.
So you'll get another point of view of the OD&D first edition, second edition, probably third edition, because they're considered dead games at this point. So
Fourth edition's a dead game too.
yeah.
Oh, it was stillborn.
Wow, Nick.
Did I just say that?
That was just rude.
I'm sorry.
That was just rude. And to randomly pick a Japanese word, nomu, there.
Okay. Are we going to edit that out?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. It's up to you, Matt.
Yeah. We'll see.
Okay. Yep, so Nick's rude comment stays in the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I am
El Torito? Oh,
El Grande Tigre.
you can't put a wrestling name. Also in OSR news, the OSR Superstar competition started this week. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the information out fast enough for you guys, so when this is published sometime later this week or the next week, the contest will only be in the first week, and round one will be going on. You can go to Tanker's Tavern. I'm looking for the address right now. Matt, can you get that? I lost it.
I can throw that up in the show notes.
Tanker's Tavern blog. Eric Tanker puts up the information for it, and you can still follow along with round one. So far, we have 252 entries as of this recording. There's still 15 hours left to enter. Nick is going to enter, he said.
I'm going to try, and we'll see what happens. See if I can come up with a cool magic item.
I believe that through the Rumor Vine, DM Mike from Save or Die has entered as well.
Oh, cool.
So there's probably some stiff competition out there.
Hey, over 250 magic items submitted. Pretty cool.
And if you win the whole contest, you do get, I believe it was $25 to Drive Through RPG. You also get the original OD&D box set that was the reprint from Wizards of the Coast, a copy of Barrow Maze 1 PDF, a giant dragon sculpture, or I'm not sure what it was exactly.
You get lots of fabulous prizes chosen especially for you.
Here it is. TankersTavern.com. And who wants to be an OSR? So you want to be an OSR superstar, you just click that link and you can just follow along with all of them. So the competition round one will be going off this week. Probably by the time you guys hear this, round two will be going off. It's just you can kind of follow along, and I assume he'll be doing this more than once. So
yeah, I just like that there's so many people that are participating. It just shows you how that the gaming community, particularly OSR, is rather active, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
I think the reason why a lot of people didn't hear about it is because it was mostly on Google Plus. Because I know Eric hangs out on Google Plus a lot. I'm not sure if he's on Facebook anymore. He may. I have to ask him that, but I'm pretty sure they would have spread that through the OSR Facebook group.
But still, 250 some odd entries. That's really good.
Yeah.
Is that like Christopher Walken good, or?
That's like wow.
Wow, I can't believe it.
It's like nuts, out of control.
And somebody's
phone.
Yep, there's this. Hopefully, a kobold will answer it.
That is our RFI podcast line. That is rfipodcast.com/contacts.
Yes, there you go.
Yep, call him the hotline.
The hotline.
654-4210. Speaking about the hotline, let's over to Sage Advice.
Sage Advice.
This is Sage Advice. I am DM Vince. Reporting live. No, I just want to start like Nick used to start segments anyway.
Shut up.
It's like, this is Table Matters. I'm DM Nick reporting. It's like, Nick, we know who you are already. Listen to older shows. You'll get the joke.
Yeah.
We love you, Nick.
I love me too.
First email comes at rfistaff@gmail.com. I can't remember our email address. rfistaff@gmail.com. There. Or you can go to our webpage and hit contact us. email us and we'll get your email. Someone did write an email in saying, I can't find your email address anywhere. It's not on the webpage. Well,
how'd you email us then?
Yeah, he went to the webpage and hit contact us. We did that on purpose, actually, so you listen to the show. No, we did that on purpose so we don't get spammed. If you put the email address on a webpage, those bots come around and just pull the email address off and start spamming the heck out of you.
And we don't like that.
Thus is why either you get the email address from the podcast itself by listening or go to contact us.
Right.
The first email comes in from DM Kojo.
No way.
Yes way.
Oh my gosh, DM Kojo again?
Yeah, DM Kojo's been a star recently. He's been on the Thaco's Hammer podcast twice.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making his rounds.
Yeah. He's such a super fan of their show that they invited him to come on for a couple episodes.
Cool.
Anyway, he writes in to say, guys, in addition to this excellent podcast, another that I often do listen to is the Miskatonic. How do you pronounce that? Miskatonic?
Miskatonic University.
Thank you for the Call of Cthulhu RPG. In episode,
that's a good.
What?
That's a good one.
Oh. In episode 22, one of their hosts, Keeper John, gave RFI a big shout out to their listeners. He spoke of his love of First Edition and how he listens to RFI even though he hasn't played D&D in decades. This got me to thinking, which Cthulhu Mythos creature have you used in your D&D games? Or which ones might be ripe for conversion? I know some are covered in the original printing of deities and demigods, but there is also much more out there to sample. I specifically thought that, I don't know how to pronounce half these names, Bayaki? Bayaki?
Mm-hmm.
Of Tindalos?
Hounds of Tindalos.
And Galaki would be great monsters to import. What are your thoughts? DM Kojo. Nick, since you're experiencing that, go.
Actually, the original Deities and Demigods book did have the Bayaki stats in them. But I don't know about Hounds of Tindalos. Those would be really nasty because they're like interdimensional. They come through the angles of space. So, you know, that would be something akin to, I don't know, I guess they would maybe be in the astral or ethereal plane. I don't know how you would play them. But, or Galaki would be a pretty good, nasty one to do as well. But yeah, as far as like using them in campaign, definitely. It adds a different flavor to the campaign, in my opinion. You know, if you want something a little bit more, you know, like high fantasy as far as like being more like Tolkien-ish, I don't know if it really fits. But if you want it more like a sword and sorcery kind of a, you know, Robert E. Howard kind of feel, who Robert E. Howard was a contemporary of Lovecraft. You know, they corresponded. Yeah, I mean, that would fit really well. I've used all the mythos in my campaigns and maybe planning to do that in the near future. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never actually used anything out of the Cthulhu Mythos. As a confession, I've never actually read any H.P. Lovecraft. I know.
What?
I have not read any Lovecraft.
Just
Really?
stop now and just go read some. Now. Go.
I have used Cthulhu in a Marvel superheroes role-playing game.
Yes, you told me about that, and it sounded really cool.
Yes. not. I just went Nazis Cthulhu. Writes itself.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
really.
very sound like Hellboy in a way.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I'm horribly ignorant when it comes to the Cthulhu mythos.
Well, if I remember correctly, Lovecraft's work has fallen into the public domain.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, and a few years back, the Library of Congress did a collection of Lovecraft's works that were printed. You know how they did a whole bunch of them for Jefferson and some of the other great American authors. Lovecraft was one of them, and it was part of that series. And just reaching off my my shelf here, the deities and demigods, for the person who want to know about like Bayaki. Yeah, they're all statted out in there. And I think if you do a search online, you might be able to find, the Cthulhu mythos statted out for AD&D somewhere.
Yeah, I think I have some ebooks of some of them. I've just never got around to reading them.
Yeah. So it's not hard to do. I'm sure you could find something. I mean, I don't know if I would actually stat out the, what would be quote unquote the gods of the mythos, but a lot of the creatures like Deep Ones, Bayaki, Hounds of Tyndalos, those would be, you could stat those out pretty well. I mean, Deep Ones are pretty much like Kuo-toa in a way. If you want to find something now analogous what's going on in AD&D now. So, but if you do, in my opinion, if you do add those into a campaign, it's definitely going to take a darker turn. So just keep that in mind. Depends how lighthearted your game's going to be. I don't know. It's up to you as a DM, but I like using them. I mean, it was originally part of the whole AD&D mystique from the very beginning. I mean, it was one of the influences was Lovecraft's work. So I can't see how you could go on without it.
Yay.
All we need is more tentacles.
Whoa, now. It's kind of personal.
No, not that kind.
Oh, okay.
As in Cthulhuid horrors from beyond space and time. We want to suck your soul out through your nostrils. Or other orifices. But this is a family podcast, so.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, DM Kojo. I've never actually used them myself either, so I can't really comment. My apologies.
Yeah. And I actually have found online a link to the audiobooks, like the collected public domain works of H.P. Lovecraft in audiobook form. I'm like a big audiobook guy. So.
Oh, yeah. There's even on YouTube. Absolutely. There's audiobooks you can listen to of the story, The Call of Cthulhu. What's At the Mountains of Madness, I think there's an audiobook of. Some of his earlier, lesser, smaller works. So, The Doom That Came to Sarnath. They're all out there.
Cool. All right. Thank you, DM Kojo. Second email comes in from Ed. He was talking about the monk episode being broken and it fails at the end. He said, is there any way to fix this unless monks are now ninjas and they disappear on spawn? He also wants to know, and if there's a problem, how do I get the podcast and what can I do to rectify the situation if I need to, listen? Matt, I'll drop that over to you.
I went and checked the download. I would just go ahead and try re-downloading it. It appeared to be everything was there for me, didn't cut out. So just try re-downloading it and see if that works. You can also, if you go into our archive.org thing, it's Roll for Initiative podcast, all one word. I'll put a link to this in the show notes as well. It's basically an archive of all of our shows that just has direct download links as well. So if for whatever reason you happen to see a post of a show and it doesn't show up in your iTunes feed, that you can go to this site and download them. Like if I say upload a show at like 12:30 at night and forget to like update the RSS feed, you can go to this page and download it, or you can wait till me to fix it.
Issue 137.
137. Yeah. So I'll throw a link to the direct download page for all of our shows, so that way you can also go there and try it.
Sure. Cool. So next one comes in from, thank you, Ed. Next one comes in from Keith. This is the one about the email address on the site that I was talking about. I'll leave that at the end of the email. He has two things. One, you're asking for stars on iTunes. I think you're making your podcast very iTunes friendly, but I only use my PC and I copy and paste the very difficult to see link in each show notes page to get the download page. I'd give you guys 5 stars for everything except the ease of getting the show. Then I'd give it 3.5. So I guess average of above 4 stars. So that's pretty darn good. Well, comment on that one, anybody?
I'm just curious of what was the complicated download link?
I don't know. I thought you just posted. As far as when I go to the actual web page, it just shows the link right there. I mean,
Right, you just should be able to just click download, unless you're seeing our show notes elsewhere.
Yeah, you click on read more and, about the show. And then there's, you
know what?
Maybe you can either play it from the website. You can click and play in a new window or click on download.
I'm thinking either A, he's on his phone, which might be a Android phone, and a lot of times they have problems downloading.
Yeah, there you go. You might be right there.
Yeah, mobile device could be a little wacky.
Yeah, it could be a little wonky. That's true.
And I know if you hit our episodes in Chrome, it'll bring you to that weird, wacky...
Oh, yeah, it actually opens up the XML as opposed to actually just downloading it.
Right. Yeah. So it depends on what browser you might be using on your computer, too.
Where this is where I'm posting links to our direct downloads page over at archive.org. You should try using that. It may be a little more user-friendly.
Or I think we have a FeedBurner address, too.
Yes, actually we do.
Well, I know for the show... It's friendly for both Internet Explorer and Mozilla Firefox, and I use Firefox.
If you click on the Get Our Podcast RSS feed logo itself, brings you right to our giant logo, and it brings you to all the episodes in FeedBurner, showing you all the episodes, and all you have to do is hit play now.
There you go. Yeah, and there it is. There's all the episodes from the RSS feed.
But I have a feeling he might be on his mobile phone, so that might be... I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, mobile phones are a little different. I mean, they just don't. Some of the things just don't line up with whatever browser it might be in that phone.
Anyway, part 2 of his email, number 2, because he said 2 things. As a person that plays 2nd edition, I didn't know there was one, or Call of Cthulhu, I went over my Dragon magazine collection and pulled out issue number 148 to take a look at the updated Cavalier.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, but what I found more interesting on page 35 in the Arcane Lore section, they explained how certain spells actually have healing properties. Well, sort of. I'm not sure how much of this crossed over into 1E, but did it make it in, I think. Is these spells fudging things in a way I like or not? Would I keep them in my future games? Keep up the good work? Sorry for not installing to give you stars. If there's another way, please tell me how. Keith. Oh, by the way, you don't have your email address on your site. Strange. Well, we explained that one already.
Because we don't want to get spammed by a spam bot.
Yeah, and I don't remember seeing anything about healing properties and spells. Anyone else?
Yeah, it's in that Dragon magazine article that they had we referenced to. But there's nothing that I know of in 1st edition.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
I mean, I wouldn't see a problem with porting some of this stuff over to 1st edition. I mean, how the spells are detailed in the article. Yeah. I mean, they're the same thing. I mean, level, range, duration, components, casting time, saving throw, area of effect, and the description. I mean, it's all right there. I mean, yeah, why not use it? If that's something that you're interested for your campaign, if you're doing for 1st edition, why not do it?
Okay, cool. Yeah. I would say, if you want to use whatever you want. If that works for your game, then do it. If it doesn't, don't.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm one of the people that doesn't happen to really use Dragon magazines in their game. I've read them. I like them. I just don't take them as rule expansions.
I do find it funny that he mentioned that issue 148 about the corrected Cavalier. I was just looking at that today, and I'm like, you know what? I think if I'm going to do the Cavalier again in my campaign, I'm going to use the one out of Dragon magazine. They fix a lot of things in that about the Cavalier that just make the Cavalier just way too overpowerful.
It does correct it. I did print that out when I was playing locally when I was using the Unearthed because I didn't like the Cavalier as it was.
Yeah, and Unearthed Arcana, I have to say, it's pretty damn powerful. It almost makes Paladins look weak. So,
yeah. Oh well. All right, thank you, Keith. Another email comes in from Andy. He was part of the Book of Sorrows group. He was the one of my characters in the group.
Oh, okay, cool.
Quick question for the host of RFI about blindness, specifically fighting blind. I know that characters attempting to attack an invisible creature have a -4 to their attack rolls, and that only if they have a general idea of where the invisible person or creature is. I'm curious about the ability to attack when the target of an attack isn't invisible, but still hard or impossible to see because the attacker has been blinded, either by a light spell cast on his face or blinded by some other means, blindness spell, poison, etc. Currently, I am applying a similar -4 penalty to hit, but I'm wondering if that is adequate. If a character is blinded, isn't there also a fair chance that he'll accidentally hit his own teammate as he would hit an enemy? How do you take this into account? What do you find folks do in your own games when it comes to fighting blind? Thanks in advance for the help and keep on rolling.
Blindness spell. Isn't that a cleric spell?
Yeah, I believe so. Well, the -4 attack definitely is the proper thing to do. You can always do things of when the person's attacking as a DM, you could roll a 50% chance in the background of, say, two people were fighting side by side. There's a chance that he might just accidentally swing and hit his friend next to him.
Right.
Yeah,
that sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Or if they're blinded before they're engaged in combat, you could have some fun there, and it would be like out of Robin Hood Men in Tights when Abe Lincoln was destroying like a tree.
What was that? I thought you said Abe Lincoln.
Yeah. Abe Lincoln. But yeah, all of a sudden you're hacking at something and realize it's not actually even like a person. It's like a tree or something.
So I would say if you were blinded before combat, you can just have a roll percentage that as soon as the player moves forward or backwards. So as a DM, I would pull all the monsters off the playing field and have a general idea on your little map in front of you where the monsters are compared to the players. And I would think, I don't know, kind of be hard to do it. I mean, moving forward, diagonally have the players move their combat and tell them just move that direction, and if players bump into each other, you can roll on your chart behind the screen to see if maybe they would attack each other because basically bang into something, oh, it's an enemy. Then you can give them a chance to sniff, smell, wait, obviously, but, I would do that.
Yeah, maybe give them like a wisdom check to see if they can maybe pinpoint where the enemy is in relationship to them, or when they move. Maybe use like the Lost in the Wilderness chart for random movement.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Oh, that is a good idea.
So
you can maybe get around some of that is if you're using non-weapon proficiencies, like the Wilderness Survival Guide or Dungeoneer Survival Guide. There's one, the blind fighting skill.
Oh, that's even better. Use the Lost thing. Have them roll a d6 for every square they have to move, and that's where they go.
Right.
Yeah. If they don't have a appropriate skill, if they're lost, that would be perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, roll d6, and just plot out the 6 as the points of which way to go. And if they go backwards, they go backwards. If they go forward, they go forward.
Yeah.
I can see players crashing into each other and attacking each other. It'd be a lot of fun.
Right. If you want real chaos, make both sides blind.
You want real chaos? Turn the lights out.
Yes.
Let's see what happens.
You want real chaos? Someone lets loose a grease spell.
Blind grease.
Light it on fire. No, I'm kidding.
And then a stinking cloud.
Someone did that in one of my games. They actually did a stinking cloud inside the lungs of one of the monsters.
It's nasty.
Yeah.
Wow.
because he heard the episode about the water filling the lungs of the NPC to kill them. So he decided to do the stinking cloud inside the giant's mouth. I mean, lungs. I said, all right, why not?
Yeah.
It worked, but it also came out of his mouth and stunk up the whole room, too.
Right. Yeah,
But it did work. It did keel over the monster.
that would be a good way to incapacitate pretty much anything.
Oh, yeah. So there you go, Andy. Hope you keep on listening. Last email comes in from Jesse. He said that he heard that DM Vince has started a Texas chapter of the Dead Game Society. Wonder if you get more information about it. Yes, I did. I am president of the Texas chapter of the Dead Game Society. There's no real information about it. I'm still working up a webpage for it as we speak. There's only the minimum amount of members right now of 5, and that's the local people here. For joining it, I'll email further information as it comes along. Yes, anybody can join as long as they're in Texas, of course. It's no fees or anything like that. It's just a matter of wanting to join.
I should start an Ohio chapter.
You can.
Want to be my first member?
Sure.
Matt?
Yeah, at least,
Yeah.
I think
Cool.
Chad said to join the society, you have to at least have 4 members with you. Otherwise, you can't really be a chapter by yourself. So
Oh, okay.
you have to have some people in your charter. So
All right, I'll work on it.
there you go. Up and coming, the Ohio chapter of the Dead Game Society.
I'll work on it. We'll see what happens.
Sorry, Nick. And then Matt with the Chicago area. No, that'd be the Dead Game Society original. But
Yeah, that's the OG DGS.
yeah, I think you probably fall under the OG then.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, well, Cincinnati? No, Cincinnati's more Lake Geneva South.
You can cover that area if you
You can
want.
cover Southern Ohio and Kentucky.
Yes. I shall cover the tri-state area.
Yes, I'll cover Northern
Hey, the
Ohio.
tri-state area is New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania.
No, it's Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana.
Yes.
Depends on where you live, I guess.
Yes. There's many tri-state areas, except for
No,
that
it's Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana.
No,
except for that one place where like there's 5 states intersect at once. That's the Quattro Cinque area or Cinco state area.
or like Arrested Development, Cinco de Cuatro.
Cinco de Quattro.
Instead of Cinco de Mayo, it's the day before that you celebrate. Watch Arrested Development to get that joke. Anyway. All right, rfistaff@gmail.com. Go to our website, rfipodcast.com. Contact us, 570-865-4210, the hotline. OSRgaming.org is our forums. You can find us on Facebook /RFI Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter for show announcements, RFI Podcast. Or that's about it. Or you can find us on Facebook if you can find us. I'm probably /DM Vince. I don't know. My Facebook. I don't really give it out, so you can definitely find us on G+. We actually, on G+, we have our own group now.
Yes.
It is RFI Podcast on G+. It's a group. You can follow it, and we list our shows on there. Speaking of which, I have to post up the new show, which I forgot to do.
Yeah, I'm not a big G+ guy, and I always forget to post shows there.
You were a G+ person.
I'm on there, but I don't actually ever go there.
Oh, I thought you were like one of the G+, like, flag wavers or something.
No. Half the time I forget it even exists until I get an email. Someone added you to your circle in G+. I'm like, oh.
What circle is that?
I get that all the time. Someone added you to your circle. It's like, oh, all right, cool.
Yeah. I'm like, who are you? How do you know me?
Yeah, that's how we know you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's enough for Sage Advice, and let's head into Table Matters. That's it. I couldn't think of the word.
Yes, really. We've been doing this podcast for 138 shows.
We've had, the last 4 weeks off, even though you guys had shows. So.
Right. The joys of staggered release schedules. We can fake vacations.
Yep.
It's a lovely thing.
Typical. Of all the evil creatures in the world, I'd like to find one with table manners.
What are you kidding me? I spent years cultivating the worst table manners on the planet.
Table manners.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Christopher Walken?
I was completely out of it.
Apparently you were.
Yes. Wow. We take a little break and we just fall apart.
I know. Anyway, in table manners, we'll just leave that in. In table manners, we're going to go back to And Magazine, to their spring 2014 issue. And they've been around for, 2 years now? So we're going to kind of do a compare and contrast between issue 1 and issue 8, give you an idea of what's in the new issue and just how far they've come. And it's become a fantastic magazine for first edition AD&D and some other material. So let's just head right on into it.
Oh, if you want to find, you need to go to end-mag, I believe it is.
Yeah, and-mag.com.
And you can find the magazine. Issue number 8 just dropped. So we figured it'd be a good time to jump in there and compare 2 years later versus our show we did on issue number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And this time we decided to keep the guys out, just so we can just go over the show without them sitting here and just sitting there uncomfortably answering questions. So
yep, we also have a link to andmag.com on the RFI website. If you scroll down, there is a link to it, so you can go to us and just click on that link.
Yeah, just click on the little logo there on the right-hand side that says magazine. Mm-hmm. And download their magazine. So www.and, that's and-mag.com, the only free first edition, really majority of the content magazine out there. And comparing, just the comparison, quick overview look versus issue number 1. I want to say it has doubled in size for one. So first, 51 pages. I'm looking at it. And now we're up to 91 or
96.
96.
So we're almost double in pages now.
Yep.
Almost. The layout is 900 times more professional looking. Yeah. The graphics are better. They've really, like Matt was saying before the show, I mean, if this was a real magazine to pay for,
I'd pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah, we all would definitely be putting our dollars down for this. And
it's basically evolved from a fanzine to an actual magazine.
Yes.
That's the way to look at it.
That's aptly put.
With their staff, with Brian Fazekas and Ronald Redman heading up the public relations department, has done a wonderful job of promoting the magazine. And Andrew Hamilton, I believe his name is. I'm sorry, Andrew, if I got your name wrong, but he's one of the writers with the magazine, does a wonderful job. He's helped out. They're on our forums constantly, chatting it up about the magazine, looking for feedback. You can always send in information to them. We'll get into that a little bit later. But versus 1 versus 8, big difference. Wonderful difference. I'm definitely going to say thumbs up for this. So over to Matt. What does he think?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, this is, for those people that thought Gygax magazine just wasn't filling their niche because they wanted more of a retro game magazine, this is it. You really should check out And Magazine because it's all first edition or stuff compatible with the retro clones, and it's just so great stuff. This issue focuses mostly on urban campaigns, and you have everything from new classes, a campaign setting, magic items. Then there's also just using monsters in an urban environment that actually benefits the city and the monster, as opposed to just having creatures go about wrecking chaos. There's just so much in here, and it's just a great magazine. The layout, so much better. It feels very professionally done. And I can't recommend it high enough. And the fact that it's free means you should already have downloaded it.
Oh, yeah. Download it now.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now.
Stop listening. Download.
Yes.
No. Put pause on the show.
Well, that's what I meant. Pause, and then download, and then come back and listen and read.
Exactly. That way you can
Best
follow
of both
along.
worlds.
Yeah, you can follow along as we talk about it.
Exactly.
No.
All right, this is the chance to pause. Everyone be quiet.
Okay, now.
All right, now you should be back unpaused. And now let's go to Nick with his opinion and going forward to lead us in this discussion. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, just right off from issue 1 comparing to issue 8. Issue 1 was about low-level adventuring, and that was the bulk of the of the magazine for issue 1. It was all about low leveling. Now, issue 8, yeah, they talk about urban adventures, but that's not just the bulk of the issue. There's a lot of other stuff going on in this issue besides talking about urban adventures and urban campaign. There's good bonus articles about frost giant shamans, hex crawls, and we'll talk about that later. It's actually one of my favorite parts of this current issue. And so not only has it, by growing in size, it's given a lot more content, not just devoting to one particular theme. So that was one of the things I really liked. So there's a lot more variety that you're going to get in the current issue.
Quick stop for a second. I just want to say that Gygax magazine, because Matt commented on that before, is not an old school gaming magazine. It's meant to cover all RPGs and all board games, not just old school, even though it says Gygax on the cover.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Just want to stress that because I know Jason always kind of just cringes when someone says, I thought it was supposed to be old school, dude. It's not.
They cover all sorts of gaming, and that's how it was initially, that's what was an original intention.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so continue, Nick. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. That's a good little disclaimer to throw in there. Now, right at the beginning, I like they have the And Musings by Brian. He gives basically his thoughts, being the chief editor of the magazine, and talk about how far they've come in the past couple of years, and just talking about how much material they've been getting too. So they've been getting a lot of good feedback. And I guess some of the negative feedback is just complain about articles we don't publish. So, give them time. I mean, it's pretty much a quarterly or a season magazine, so they have lots of material. And if you want to send them in, you can always check the magazine where you put your submissions to.
That is submissions
at
andmag.com.
Yep,
exactly.
Mm-hmm. And then we get into, actually, I love this next article by Dan Razaya, D&D: The Next Generation. A one-page, just little, almost I guess an editorial, you might want to call it. I guess that would be the best way to call it.
Yeah,
right?
Probably.
Yeah, and just talk about, what the next generation of gamers that there were some of the advantages that they have over Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, because now people like us and maybe our kids, they've grown up with D&D, and it's a really good article about that, and it makes you think.
It does, because he is essentially right. Gary Gygax, Dave Arneson, blah blah blah, all the people that wrote for the original didn't grow up playing these games. Yeah, they grew up playing Cowboys and Indians, Cops and Robbers. Probably battle war games with miniatures. What was that old football game when you put the pieces down, you put it on, it shakes and goes zzz, and that was
oh my gosh,
that electric football.
Yeah, electric football. It shook everywhere, and it was just kind of hilarious to watch where everything went. They grew up on that stuff. Well, people like myself, Nick, Matt, Chad, Jason, Will, everyone that was on this show, and everyone that plays the game right now have grown up playing D&D.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we do have an advantage over them, because we were able to harness our childlike imagination and put it to good use. And I'm going to say Gygax, Arneson, every one of them that created it would be we would stand on their shoulders for everything that we've done, anything that we've done in our life. So if someone played D&D when they were a kid and is now a movie director, they owe their career to Gygax and Arneson.
Oh, yeah.
Without them, they would have maybe never harnessed the imagination or the creative thought that D&D promotes.
Yep.
To help you go, because I know I wouldn't be as creative as I would be without D&D. I'll admit it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. By far.
You could even look at even video games, the influence D&D had on the video game genre, because all those RPGs that people play, your Final Fantasies and everything, you can trace their roots and the evolution of like RPGs and video games to D&D.
Yeah. Well, one of the first computer games was a fantasy-based game called Adventure. So,
Yep.
and it was played like on, I think, I could be wrong on this. It was played probably on the
It was a 2600.
ARPANET. Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, like getting on what Vince said, I guess the generation after them, we were the ones that were. How do I put this?
We're the ones that reaped the benefit from them blazing the trail.
Exactly.
They're the ones that had to put in all the real work in creating the past for us to follow.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know. There wasn't preconceived notions of what is a role-playing game.
Right. And it's also up to us as like that next generation to carry the torch, into our kids, if we have our own, or we have nieces and nephews, right, or even just other kids in your community. If you want to start a gaming club, right, it's up to us. We can we can look back and it's like, I can't hardly ever remember a time without D&D or any other role playing games in my life. It's become a part of our lives. Right. So, and it's up to us, like I said, to carry on that tradition. Right. And we can do that with our kids and with or just the kids of this next generation. Right. And it's a bit of a responsibility.
Yeah, and the D&D they play may not resemble ours, but it still doesn't mean they can't get the same benefits of the increased creativity, the enjoyment, the memories and experiences through D&D. Yeah, the rule set could be different, but they're still gaming. They're still having that experience, and that's what's important.
And I think it's up to us to kind of be like so they don't lose the essence, the spirit of the game.
We're the shepherds that kind of guide them along. Yeah, they'll find their own path, but we can say, remember where this came from, and just give them an appreciation of the past, even if it's like the OSR isn't their preferred flavor. They can still have an appreciation for the foundations of RPGs.
And you know what? And that's an interesting point, because I've actually heard that from other people in either other forums or, from maybe other podcasts where there were players who started with 3rd edition or 4th or whatever. And they've heard from other people, it's like, what is 1st edition D&D, or what are those little brown books all about? And they've actually looked into them, and they played a few times, and they've liked them, and they play that too. Mm-hmm. They've gotten interested in the literature associated with them. Right. So it kind of snowballs for those people. It's almost like opening up a treasure trove, and it's like, wow, I discovered this whole other level of imagination beyond what I've already learned here. I can learn so much more. I can add so much more to my imagination and to my games, and whatever they may be.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's basically our thoughts on that D&D The Next Generation. What do we got next, Nick?
Well, I guess the next article I thought was different. It was a little weird for me to read, is The Life Swarms with Innocent Monsters by Michael Coronet. And this one's about basically using monsters in an urban campaign, in an urban environment. And I guess using them in a public service sort of way. Would that be the best way to describe it there, Vince?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting.
Right, yeah. It's like, how could we use these creatures that pretty much in the wild will just make our lives pretty miserable, and actually use them to our advantage to benefit society? I was personally amused by the concept of wizards renting out cloakers to women.
Yes.
So that way they can be warm during, like, snowstorms.
Yeah, some of this article I liked. Some of it I'm like, that might just be a little too much. I like to keep the monsters mostly out there in the wilds. I don't like to use a whole lot of stuff as like I don't want them to be too common, you know.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you look at your monsters. Like in specific, like the non-intelligent ones, are they basically just that world's version of animals, or are they something a little more than that?
Right. I guess that's how your campaign world is.
Right.
Exactly right.
Yeah, because if you see them as being more animal-like, then at that point, yeah, I could see the humans doing things like this, like either using like some of your more exotic monsters as pets,
right,
or actually herding some like owlbears and using them for meat, as opposed to cattle. So it just depends on your outlook on how monsters fit into your world. Are they special, or are they just these random these mythical beasts that inhabit the wilderness?
I thought it was interesting, like the part where he was talking about for food, using, I think it was, carrion crawlers as a creature that could paralyze livestock when they're brought in to slaughter.
Right.
I thought, that's an interesting idea. I never thought of that.
Right. Or using giant beetles as garbage eaters.
Right. And some of that might kind of happen in a natural roundabout sort of way. For example, like I'm thinking for my Waterdeep campaign, I might be using one of the things that they might use for sanitation, like down in the sewers, is gelatinous cubes.
Right. It's something we've joked about in the past, but yeah, it makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense, you know? And those are things that maybe that the city themselves did not, particularly plan on using, but maybe they're like, they get a report saying, "Oh, you know what? Gelatinous cube has just set itself up in the sewers down there because of our repair crew was down there, and they managed to run into one, and they probably the Lords of Waterdeep were like, you know what? Fine, let it clean up. That's what it does, you know. Just don't bother it."
Yeah, sounds good.
Vince, you got anything on that?
No, you guys pretty much said it all, so I can't really
don't know.
do that.
But like I said, I don't know. Some of them I just don't want to make the monsters too common, like the whole cloaker thing, you know?
Yeah. And oh, gelatinous cube's coming through. Let's just step out of the way.
Yeah. But I think Matt's right. That it depends on what the monsters are in your game world. Are they is a gelatinous cube just as common as a cockroach or not? You know, I don't know.
I guess in your world you could do whatever you want, but like Nick is saying, you don't want to make things too common.
Yeah, and then it becomes boring after a while. Then it's like, oh well, so what? It's just a bunch of carrion crawlers working with the bush shop, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think the ideas used in this article are best if you maybe pick one or two. Don't use them all. So that way it's that way it gives character to your city without just being, okay, this is just becoming some sort of weird parody of a city at this point.
Right. The only other place I would think that would work is if you want to go a little overboard is like if you had a city that was like underground. You know, a whole drow city. You know how kind of elaborate and weird that could be.
Right.
I mean, I don't think you can go too overboard there.
No, probably not. Some interesting little thoughts there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good, one or two things that you might want to take out of that.
All right. So what do we have up next?
Next, I guess, kind of going with this whole urban idea is the business of adventuring. And it's by Nicole Massey.
Who's the Pulp magazine, actually.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And Nicole writes an article about how towns conduct their business in a, I guess I'd call it a quasi-medieval setting, and how you can put adventure seeds and plot hooks into a city adventure.
Yeah.
And she pretty much starts off like most DMs, they're perfectly comfortable running your standard dungeon crawl and having the town nearby where they go back from time to time. But where a lot of DMs where they'll kind of stare like deer in headlights, let's do a whole campaign and just in a city, they get all freaky. And I have to admit, I was one of those DMs.
Yeah.
It's like I thought, I don't know if I could do a city adventure. It just seems too complex and everything. Well, it depends on how complex you want to make it. And she kind of goes into some ideas, some things that you can do as a dungeon master if you're going to make an urban campaign in a city or a town, however big you want to make it. Some of those plot hooks, those adventure seeds that you can put on there, and you can have a lot of fun in an urban campaign.
And you don't have to just use the traditional tavern, everybody meets there, the guy in the corner. I mean, you can have an adventure starting from anywhere, starting from the magic shop. It could be starting from, from someone's hotel room. It could be starting the sewer. You find a note in the sewer that leads to a clue for something, and you find that someone's been murdered. But you don't have to just start in a tavern every time.
Right. Maybe there's some big festival going down in the main of the city.
Mm-hmm. And she brought up the point about just the simple fact that we're talking about a pseudo quasi medieval setting. It's not a assembly line type society where things are made and easily disposed of. You have to get the raw materials. Things are individually made, and then they're purchased. And if those raw materials are in short demand, how are you going to make those things? Like she talks about, the cobbler and how he needs boots and shoes are made to the person, and you can actually maybe form a whole sort of mini adventure around that. Maybe the Guild of Cobblers, they're short on leather, and they need to find out why there is a shortage.
Right.
And it's coming from a certain area. Maybe they've heard maybe there have been bandits attacking, raiding the caravans. However you want to take it.
Right. Maybe the cattle that they were using their hides to tan the leather, all of a sudden herds are turning up dead.
Mm-hmm. Disappear entirely, maybe.
Yes.
And they have some strange markings upon them.
Right. They're all drained of their blood.
Mm-hmm. Are we talking about like black helicopters at the night from the government now?
Yes. Well,
now we're talking Call of Cthulhu stuff.
Yes.
Delta Green.
Black griffins. Black griffins
with headlights.
Yes.
On their heads. Coming in the middle of the night, sucking the blood out of the cattle. No, but besides, joking aside, you can build just a simple supply and demand type mini adventure around something like that, and maybe even build upon that. Maybe there's some other nefarious plot. Maybe it's not just the amount of leather. Maybe there's some other things that are disappearing in the supply chain.
Right.
Who's behind it all?
Yeah. Maybe the blacksmith's having a shortage in metal, and the reason that shortage in metal is one of the enemies of the city is actually cutting the supply off and building their own army.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That could lead off to a whole bunch of stuff.
Right. So
that's like one of the things that she talks about, and also the people of the city. Maybe someone who disappears who's prominent. You could form a whole adventure around that, or someone new that pops up.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think city adventures scare people a lot because when you first think of it on the surface, you're like, how am I going to kill things? Because you can't just go around it's not going to be very combat heavy at first until you start venturing deeper into the story, because you're not going to go kicking doors down in cities and hacking people up.
Right. There's going to be a lot more role playing involved.
Right.
But some people might be uncomfortable with that. But you know what? I found out, just for example, the nightly campaign my friend Jeff's doing, it's a lot more role playing and political involved, and we're having a blast. Doesn't mean we're not having combat happen now and then, but a campaign where, like in an urban environment, you're going to have more role playing stuff involved. You're going to really get into your character and learn And it also makes the DM work a little bit more as playing NPCs even better too. So that's a really good article about urban adventures, urban campaigns, and just as a DM, you don't have to be afraid of doing a whole setting just right there. There's some really good tidbits of information which goes right into, what about a certain character class you think that might not work into a campaign, like the Druid, for example. You think a Druid could work in an urban campaign? Well, Mr. Leonard Lakofka has a lovely article about the Druid in Dungeons and Towns and does an excellent breakdown of everything that, the Druid could do.
It does break it down a lot, but I don't know, it seems like I'm looking at it as a power gaming point of view, though.
Yeah, it could be, but I think it just giving, the person who's playing a Druid is like, you know what, you're not entirely useless in an urban environment or in a dungeon.
Right.
Well, not every I don't know why people think classes are useless. There's always a use for every player
right
in the game, no matter what class they are. I know people are like, oh, magic users blow. It's like there's plenty of things you could do after you blast off the one spell, and we've done show advices on that. So,
but I think this article was like geared toward those people who have this stereotypical thought that the Druid is just some hippie out in the forest, protecting the trees and the wildlife.
Smoking weed. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Smoking weed. But no. It's not entirely like that. They are useful in urban and dungeon environments.
Yeah, with this article, just look at it as more an example in creative use of magic and spells. It's just more, and you can even take the concepts of this article and apply it to pretty much any class, just to have a different take on a given class. And I think that's the bigger thing, just saying, hey, on the surface it doesn't look like a druid would be all that useful. Here's actually how it could if you just change your perspective a little bit.
Right, and I think the key word was, like you said, be creative. Be creative with your character.
I like the Druid class overall as a class, and I think it's cool. The only thing I hate about it is that neutral alignment. That's the only thing I hate about it. If that was any different, I would probably love it.
You probably tend to think it'd be more like neutral good.
I don't know why they have to be pure neutral. I understand nature and balance, but that is way too difficult for a player to use in a game.
It can be.
And for a DM to adjudicate that constantly is going to be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it could be tough. That's true.
Because you're going to have players not intentionally treading the line of what is considered true neutral.
Well, then I guess you, as a DM, maybe in your game world, maybe you do make druids neutral good.
Make DMs neutral good?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. All DMs must be neutral good.
Nah,
I thought they're neutral evil.
Oh, I thought it was chaotic neutral.
Something like that.
That might be. Most players are chaotic neutral. But
yeah, Len does have a great article here. He does list some new spells in your game, which are really cool. We won't spoil that for you. But page 22 starts, which I think the best part of End Magazine is when they put in new magical items.
Oh yeah, and they're peppered all through the magazine, which I love.
This is what the little gems of this magazine. Right. This is one of the gems of everything is great in the magazine, but these are what I consider the little gems because I like to see what people come up with.
Yes, and how we were talking about blind fighting earlier. One of these magic items, the Earring of Acute Hearing, could help with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get +1 to your surprise rolls and -1 to hear noise or other listening rolls. So you're not going to get surprised, and you're going to hear things all by wearing these earrings.
Yeah. And it's like they're peppered through the whole issue, just little boxes off the side of different magic items. And I noticed that I guess this issue, they tend to be heavy helping towards thieves and magic users from what it looks like.
Well, that's good because a lot of people like to see stuff from those for those. So
yeah,
well, not from them, before them. I don't think they're actually going to write in as a magic user saying, "Please do this."
No, I'm just saying that the magic items that were created tend to look like they would benefit magic users and or thieves.
Very true.
So, So after we have was an article by Ian Slater, and he writes an article.
Say AC Slater
about.
Oh
no, Ian Slater.
Oh. Sorry, I got Saved by the Bell flashback there.
Yeah, I guess. And at first, I was a little confused by the article. It's called "Sleight of Hand with Dice and Cards."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I read a little further, and at first they're talking about he gives like some rules that you can maybe use, some guidelines, how your characters, if they get into like some sort of card game or a dice game in a tavern or a bar or wherever, how they could cheat at them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets into different types of games that you can play. That's part of that what they would find in a tavern in environment. Cavalier's Courage, Orc Bones, a game called Storm Giant. I like the one called Fireball. That one seemed pretty cool. So
yeah,
and he talks about each of these different card or dice games, who they're typically played by, either a type of class or a race, and how the game is played. So you could actually have a game within a game. So you're playing D&D, your characters are in an inn, and maybe there's a bunch of thieves and fighters that are sitting around there playing Orc Bones, and and they ask, hey, you want to play Orc Bones with us? And you're like, okay, how do you play? So you can go into that, or you have a bunch of magic users, they're playing Fireball. And they got a bunch of cards, a deck of cards, and you can actually play this with a deck of cards in the game. So really cool idea. I love stuff like this for me as a DM or a player, because it really brings the game to life. You almost feel like you're there, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
You're actually playing the game Fireball, that these magic users are playing, or Dragon's Foot. There's another game right there. So, yeah, I love this article for that. So very cool stuff in there. I think there's like 8 or 9 different games he might have, and
they're not just typical, like, roll D6. It kind of has some thought into them, how to add it up. It's not just a little game. So he went real good detail about these games.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think your players, I would say maybe have a gambling casino going on there and use these rules to have many games and have your players spend some time gambling.
I know there's like the gambling rules in the DMG for for poker, and I think for darts, but this is a welcome addition to that for different card and dice games that you can have if you have like a casino or some sort of gambling establishment in our town or a city. So, or you can use this as I would think you could almost use it as a plot hook. These games, maybe you have to win a hand of Hydra, which is one of the card games, in order for you to get your friends out of prison. Something like that. I don't know. So,
or maybe one of your players gets into so much debt that you have to play games to free him or something, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a really cool article on that. I would love to get more into what they are, but you just have to read it for yourself, and it's for free, so you can go and download it.
Well, like I said, we're reviewing the articles themselves. We're not going into too much detail because we want you to download the magazine and enjoy it.
Yes.
Read it. If we tell you everything that says there, then what's the point of you downloading it?
Right. And then we got more magic items like this Gauntlets of Fury, which I thought was like pretty cool, but it's got some downsides. I like how some of these magic items that were made for the issue that are in this issue, some of them have a downside to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I get on to some of my favorite parts of this is there's a couple of like campaign setting. One little mini campaign setting called the Great Eastern Woods, and it's a campaign setting by John Fredericks.
That's T-Man on our forums.
Yeah, and just a nice map that was made of all these different places. Like,
I like that map. That drawing of that map looks.
I like it too.
You know what it looks like? You know the guy Dyson Maps who does Dyson Maps.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like his style of drawing almost. But
yeah, what also reminded me of?
What?
The original map in The Hobbit.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Doesn't it kind of give you that vibe?
Yeah,
It does, and I think that's why I like it, because you have towards the top of the map, which I would guess would be north, you have the Drakenlands, and then there's the Great Peak, and next to that is the Crystal Spires. You have the Miners Road, Old Fort Town, the Long Swamp, all this cool stuff just drizzled within this map, and he has a great breakdown of all these different places within this mini campaign.
This, if I was going to have a campaign, I would want my map to look like this.
Yeah, I love that it is primitive in its look, because it gives the idea of, this is from a primitive society.
This looks like a type of thing you can print out, age it on a piece of paper, roll it up, and give it to your players as a prop.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
So this is the map of the land that you guys would have, and like a common thing like they would have in the kingdoms when they're plotting out things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could just see them rolling this out. Like if you ever watch Game of Thrones, when they pull out the maps and they're looking at the maps and they show the land, looks just like this. Well, not that, but very similar to what this looks like, and it's really cool.
Yeah, there's no hexes or anything on it. It's just an old style map, and just the breakdown that he gives on the different towns, the different geographic features, and each area has its own little adventure seat. Just to give you an example, there's a place on the map called the Pass of Caladeus, and he talks about how this natural pass, its most direct route across the mountains into the Great Eastern Woods. While it is a pass, many of the trails are still quite rugged and steep. And he talks about how the rise of the tree line follows sheer cliffs. Caladeus was, I guess, a famous army general. Campaigned here fighting many goblins. And right after that, it says, Adventure Seed. The PCs are hired to protect an important diplomat or trader who wishes to travel to Hannaford, which is one of the towns, and beyond. However, a great rainstorm hampers travel, and bandits, human or otherwise, waylay the party. They may get help from a halfling hermit who has made his retreat in the mountains. So each area has a description of the area and an adventure seed to go along with it. So it's not just all these different things on a map and what they are. He gives you ideas of what you can do for adventures, and each one just has one adventure seed, which for all the different features on the map, that's plenty to have for a nice campaign to go along. I like the one that's the Crystal Spires. I'm not going to read it and spoil it for everybody, but when you download the issue, when you read the Crystal Spires, it's really cool. It's just one of those weird things. No one knows how it got there. But
I like the little adventure seeds that come along with each little place too.
I do too. That's great stuff. I mean, just more than you can hope for.
And then John comes back with another article right after it about making things for the campaign. So
yeah, making a mini castle on the cheap.
Yeah, pretty much going to stores like Michael's or Joann Fabrics or Hobby Lobby and finding those little cheap things that people just kind of use for their decoration around the house. Be perfect for gaming.
Yeah, in this one, he talked about how he found these
castles,
these sandcastles that were like on clearance for $1, and how he cleaned them up and painted them and make them used as
little props. Yeah,
as basically, little props for miniatures in your campaign. And he somehow got a hold. I love the picture. He somehow got a hold of one of those. I guess would have been the inspiration for the Boule.
Is that what that is? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was a Geopet thing going on there.
No, that was one of the original inspirations for the Boule.
And he's got a HeroClix there. I didn't know HeroClix made fantasy stuff too.
Yeah.
So, but he goes to the detailed steps, how to paint it, how to get it. And then he has a little bridge as well.
I don't know where he found that, but that's pretty cool.
He said someone carved it out for him.
Oh, okay.
I think he said where I know there was something. His father was kind enough to do the bridge for him on a bandsaw.
Okay.
So there, yeah. But I mean, you could still build this. You could find something similar to this and then carve out with a Dremel tool and just go to town on it. Cool.
And then there's another article from Nicole Massey, and I guess original concepts by Lee Connor. Another PC class called The Dancer. And I wasn't too
keen on it.
I wasn't too keen on it. I gotta be honest. I'm not really interested in this class. I read through it. I'm like,
It kind of just reminds me of like a Thief Acrobat.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, this is kind of like the Thief Acrobat, but more fightery than thiefy. Because I'm looking at the skills and I'm like, move silently, climb walls.
The ability to play this out of the box without having to get to 5th level on this and that, and
I wasn't all too on this.
It's a good idea if you're really into that type of stuff for your campaign, but I really wasn't into this class. Nothing against Nicole or anything, but I was just not. Yeah,
it just wasn't. It wasn't for me. Not too big on it myself.
I mean, they get their AC is modified per level. Their movement goes up just like a monk. So they have the two things from the monk class. They have damage per their MA, which I believe is martial arts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is just like, so they pretty much took the best of the monk things, added it to the class, added thieving abilities, but added high jumping, standing broad jump, running broad jump, tumble attack, tumble evasion, and falling, which you don't get those abilities until at least 6th level, the last couple I just read.
Yeah, it's like they took the monk and the thief acrobat and stuck them together in a way.
It's kind of Ezio from the Assassin's Creed video games.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, thinking about it, but call it the dancer class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's if Ezio knew some capoeira.
So yeah, we have that, and then we go to some ecology now.
Yeah, their Creature Feature 1 by Dan Rosadia. I'm sorry if I slaughtered your name, Dan. I apologize. The ecology of the what?
Creature Feature. Hey, isn't that copyright RFI?
Yeah, it might be.
Well, no, theirs is just a Creature Feature. Ours is the Creature Feature Theater.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, their features are shown in our theater.
Okay.
So he did one, Ecology of the Slan Yaltul, I guess it would be called.
Yeah, it's a lizard creature or something.
It's. I love the beginning of it. It's actually a pretty cool story. How he gets into it. I like it because you get the feeling at the end that everybody's scared because they don't know what the hell it is. Something very, very evil.
They're not demon creatures, but they're really evil. So
yeah, they're from the plane of Tartarus, though.
Huh.
They are planar creatures, but they're from I almost get the feeling they're almost kind of like I don't know what you would term them as, but they're nasty.
I wouldn't want to run against a 14 hit dice creature, though.
No.
They're kind of Cthulhu-ish in a way.
Yeah, they're pretty nasty. Yeah. And there's 2 different stats, one for male, one for female. And I don't even want to, I don't even want to run into the female. So, it's pretty cool. Something, if you want to throw your players for a loop, this is something you want to add.
Yeah.
On the next page with the magical items that they have, that's right. Now, the spider gloves, is it an actual spider that you're sticking your hand into because of the picture? I don't know. I'm trying to figure
I don't think so.
No.
You're becoming Spider-Man, basically.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, they're just white silk gloves with crisscrossing dark lines on them. So they're not actually like spiders you're putting on your hand.
Like the torch of the foot pad. That's a cool magic item. But like that.
Did you see how to regrow it?
Yes.
I was like, oh my god! To go through all that, I wish I can live the elephant blood and then sprinkle the Displacer Beast bones around the. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's a quest in itself.
Right.
You know?
Well, considering its gold value is 20,000.
2,500 XP as well. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But what it does is awesome. It can, when you light the torch, you wave it around in the smoke wherever it touches, it'll outline hidden doors, sharp blue, illusions, bright green, magical objects, deep purple, and traps in bright crimson. That's cool. And then you got the other article by Brian Fazekas, I guess. That's
Fazekas, yeah, that's Fazekas.
Fazekas? I'm sorry.
He's the editor.
And he does Creature Feature Part 2, Electric Boogaloo here.
Oh, you had to bring that in. You and DM Mike, I can't stand that.
That's why I did it. Anyway, Ecology of the Spore Spitter. This is kind of a creepy little...
I would not want to run into one of these creatures with these little things that come spitting out of it.
Yeah!
Like
and sometimes hover around it. It's like a plant that's intelligent and has these like big spores that can hover around and shoot. And it's kind of creepy.
Yeah. They're negative 1 to AC and they can do 1d6 damage?
Yeah.
The attack is an 11 hit dice monster and they do 1 to 6 points of damage and kills the spore. So, like, it uses spores to attack you, but the spores also help it reproduce. So, that's a pretty cool article, too. And, and the beginning story I thought was well done as well. Both of the creature features, the beginning stories were very well done, at least in my opinion. And then another one of my favorites here in this issue, there's just so much good stuff in here. Vince Lethal.
That's not me.
No, his last name is Lethal.
Is it Lethal? I wonder if that actually is a pen name or not.
I don't know, but he wrote up a really cool, almost like a Rogues Gallery thing, Friend or Foe, Mattias's Company, and it's basically they took 91 points of ability scores that were pooled over 7 abilities, and they created a whole bunch of characters around that. So they made a Cavalier, an Elf Fighter, an half-orc assassin.
I wonder if with the Cavalier they used the corrected or the regular.
I don't know.
I assume because it's 0 level, we probably just used what was in the...
Yeah, probably the standard Nirnaeth Arcana Cavalier. So we have Mattias, the human Cavalier. We have Perfidy. She's a high elf female veteran, so she's a fighter. And these are all first level. And then Cord, he's an apprentice executioner. He's a half orc, first level assassin. And we have Dundring the Guildsmith, who is a hill dwarf, veteran rogue. He's a fighter thief. Alia, Lady of the Deep Woods, who is a half-elf druid magic user. And by the way, druid magic user is an awesome combination.
Yeah.
And Pavo, Weaver of Colors, who is a gnome illusionist thief. And let me tell you, I had a thrill. It was a joy reading about each one of these characters. Well done, Vince. Well done.
You're welcome. Oh, sorry.
No, the other Vince. But it's really cool backgrounds because every character is interlinked with the other one. And all their attitudes about the other, how they feel about each other character in the party. And I'm reading this, I'm like, man, this would make a really cool miniseries,
Yeah. You could even use this as an inspiration on how to encourage your players to actually intertwine the backgrounds of their characters too.
Yeah, which is one thing I try to do. I don't like having, you all meet in an inn and you meet this old man. I like it at least if half the player characters are somehow interlinked in some way. And this one shows how they all are related in some way socially, if not by blood or something like that. But just a great little article there. And then we got another Friend or Foe, Nicholas Morgul by Milo. This is a nasty NPC. I mean, or his nickname he goes by is Old Nick. Old Nick. He's a vampire magic user.
Vampire.
Yeah, who does a really good at disguising the fact that he's a vampire.
Yeah.
Yes, because he just is a seemingly harmless low-level magic user specializing in black magic and demonism.
Yeah.
That's all. Just harmless.
I could see this. I think one of the things that Milo used for this character, as far as like how you can use him in a campaign, he could be a benefactor to an adventuring party.
Yeah, I mean, I could see using him if you're running like an urban campaign. He's basically like the patron of the party, and little do they know they're actually working for this totally evil vampire.
I think this would also really work if you were having a campaign where it was all evil or mostly evil characters. He would work really well as a benefactor to that party. So that's just my kind of take on it. And what about the next one there, Matt? Friend or Foe 3?
Oh, just as a side note, guys, during the show here right now, Brian, the chief editor, wrote us a note and said thank you for the wonderful words about issue number 7 we did a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Up on the shows. So I told him we were doing the review of today's show on issue number 8. And he just wrote back. He said, that was really cool. Thank you very much for the promotion and the help. And he said, since the magazine dropped, he's had almost 2,000 downloads already.
Wow.
So he's all freaked out and pumped about it. You know, I guess it's a big download for them right now. So that's great.
Good for him. Glad. And you know what? I'm glad that we're promoting him because they do great work.
Well, yeah, you got anything first edition we have to push out there and get people to.
Yeah, and it's just good quality stuff. But yeah, just
crazy.
Yeah, it's like wow, it's out of control.
All right, back to our regularly scored.
So Matt, why don't you go with the next one here? You could talk if you want to about.
Oh yes,
this the Darrow.
Yes, the Sinshumu Tizkar Darrow Savant. Yes, this is. Just you're dealing basically with a chaotic evil super genius here. I mean, he has a background of he just lived a life of rather mediocrity until he came upon a caravan and discovered a gleaming incisor of unusual sheen. As like every superhero backstory, he finds the magic item, then. Boom, he had this, ends up, that tooth was the fabled 24 tooth of Davla Nar, yes, lots of enunciation here needed, which grafted itself between his stained teeth and rotting stumps and immediately shrunk and discolored into obscurity. So basically think like a body part of Vecna.
Oh, nice. And it's a tooth.
Yes, it's the tooth. But instead of Vecna, this gave him all kinds of power. Teleportation is a power possessed by the Darrow, but with Sinshimu, he had got this advantage here of being able to teleport without error.
2 times a day.
Yes, so then, he's got ESP.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and now this little schlep whose
hair is all white now.
Yes, who had nothing going for him. Has all this power.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's chaotic evil, by the way, folks.
Yeah, and intelligence is a genius, like I said. And he casts spells at the 12th level of ability. He's got Charm Person, ESP, Invisibility, Ventriloquism, Paralyzation, Shadow Magic, Levitate, Comprehend Languages, Read Magic, and Magic and Anti-Magic Shell. So, yeah, he's basically going to be a really good little puppet master.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, yeah, let's see. As for his equipment, we're talking like Wands of Lightning, scaled leather armor. And he's got that tooth that's that gave him all of this. And his Ring of Earth Elemental Command. And, yeah, he's just nasty. And there's a whole long backstory. And he goes into the underworld and... Yeah, this you could basically make an entire campaign around him because he is just that high of a big bad. And he's got like 10th level assassins under him, and he's manipulating, and it's just good
Yes,
stuff.
and he had a Ring of Elemental command, and he will stop at almost nothing to regain it. So
yes.
Could base a little mini adventure around that, Somebody in the adventuring party finds a Ring of Elemental command, but it's not his.
Yeah. And now they have this guy chasing after them.
Exactly. This little gnome-looking dude who's got all white hair shooting lightning at them, and apparently can do color spray 3 times a day and all this other jazz.
Right. Yeah. Really, probably what would happen, he would just walk up to the person with it, charm them, and be like, give me my ring back. Okay, friend, here you go.
Okay, here you go, friend.
And you yeah. But yeah, 4-foot tall people with like super hyper powers, always fun, because no one expects the gnome to destroy you.
Gnome.
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 The gnome is good evil.
Yes. It is very Gneevil in a super genius.
Yes, genius way. So we have that guy. And then we go on to the toy box, which is like, I guess, new weapons and equipment by Nicole again. And we have, I guess, different types of whips and arrows.
Yeah, what's Nicole trying to say? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, this is a family podcast.
I know, I'm just playing.
I know. But, I guess some stats for different types of whips. Cannon Nine Tails, a Scourge, and a Metal Whip. And different types of arrows that you might come across. I think the arrows are interesting for the fact that if you want to use them for a more primitive society, I guess like a Stone Age society, you run across Neanderthals or something like that. I think that would work really well. Or maybe if you come across some pretty primitive type gnolls or goblins, maybe those are the type of arrows they would actually use. So
yeah, and for those that actually use it, she's even included weapons versus armor adjustments. Yes. So.
Now that's just wrong.
I think with the many conversations I've had with Nicole in the past, when N Magazine was first coming out, we were first trying to partner up with them to help promote them. I believe she uses those in her games, so that's probably why it was included. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that's something you usually don't see when people make new weapons or weapon variants.
The weapons versus armor adjustments. Yeah. I like this next magic eye on the Magsman's Mantle. That's cool. Different feathers, it helps you with different... You put this cap on, and different feathers in the cap that you might find will improve thieving ability. It's pretty cool.
Using a D12 for random rolls. I wonder.
Gosh, we're maybe.
What, Nick?
Past halfway of the issue. There's so much stuff in here. It's crazy.
I use D12 to roll, so I wonder if you roll the same thing twice, does the same feather do something twice, or?
Oh, no, I guess there's 12 different types of feathers you can find.
Right, yeah, and it'll have 1d4 feathers, but yeah, I could see having multiples of the same feather.
Okay, cool.
So,
and then you can also add feathers to it as well, because the feathers can be found separately from the hat.
Mm-hmm.
So, but only a maximum of 4 could be on at any time.
Cool.
We got another article by Andrew Hamilton after that. Spellcaster's Paradise, Frost Giant Shamans.
Wow, and staff regular magazine editors, so.
Yes. And he gives some good ideas for background on using Frost Giant Shamans and giving them a little more interesting spells to their arsenal that would be particular to the Frost Giants.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like the Breath of the Winter Wolf, where it basically gives the Frost Giant Shaman a breath weapon.
Yeah.
Like, that's the last thing you need Frost Giants having. Or, what's another one? The Ice Axe, where he basically Whoa, is everything okay there?
Did you fall over?
Sorry about that. I had a cat issue, and the cat unplugged my headphones, so my speakers kicked on.
His ice accident, he falls over. Okay.
You killed him, Nick? What's going on?
No. I used that, used the Breath of Winter Wolf spell on him. Knocked him over. But they're like, there's just a whole bunch of different spells here, like I said, that were particular to Frost Giant shamans. And you can go through this article and read through those. And I think even a few of them might be able to be used by regular shamans, if not clerics.
Yeah.
You know,
Andrew is good at spells. I mean, this guy, he when we first brought him on the podcast for issue 1, and I've been talking to them over the time, like he writes spells down as he's like jogging or walking the dog. He's thinking of spells. Like this guy has a book of spells. They did an issue just of spells and magical items, and he did it. I actually tapped him to help me with the new Mazes and Perils, some spells, and I was just like, oh, I need this and that. And he's like, okay. Within a week, boom, he had like this I don't know, 10-page thing given to me with spells. I was like, holy cow. And they're all original, and none of them are the same. There's just, I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, he just has a knack.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
he's really good.
Yeah.
And that, and also, not just at the spells, but as these new magic items, too.
Right. The giant snowballs.
Those giant snowballs are so cool.
Yes. I was so amused.
Literally.
Yes. I was so... 2-foot snowballs that explode. Exploding snowballs that
yes.
And if you expose them to great heat, they explode. So you
not even great heat.
70...
The temperature just has to be above 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. Oops, your torch got a little too close to it. Boom. Boom.
Exactly. And he also, in this article gives an example NPC of a Hringar, the 6th level Frost Giant Shaman. So it gives a pretty cool background on that guy and how to use Hringar in play. Word. So very cool stuff there. And then another article by Leonard Lakofka, 2 new cleric druid spells he gives.
More magical items as well on the next page.
More magical items.
Yeah.
And we have, after that, there's another one by Ian Slater, an article called Fawn Raven's Falcon. And it's an article about a magic user by the name of Fawn Reaver the Fantastic, and in his magic book and different magic spells that he acquired over time, maybe some that he's designed. And a lot of these spells are, I would say the majority of them are utilitarian in nature.
Yeah.
But some pretty interesting stuff there. So I would say a lot of these spells are really good, again, in an hermit environment, maybe in a dungeon too. So.
Then Ian comes back with another article about the fireball and analyzing.
Oh my God!
Is it the area of effect? How to look at it from, if you're a magic user, how to use it properly, because no one seems to know how to use it properly and just kind of fireballs.
Well, suffice to say, if you have a 40 by 40 room with a 10-foot tall ceiling, you're gonna be okay. But if you don't, backblast.
Yep. Narrow hallways, bad for fireballs.
Bad for fireballs. You're going to fireball a whole dungeon. Yeah, because he gets into all that math. It made my head hurt a little. But because I'm nowhere near a math guy at all. But I had to read through the article a second time, and where he talks about the area effect and the backblast. You're trying to break it down where the fireball, they say it's 33,000 square feet, and you break that into like 10-foot increments in a dungeon, how that all kind of fits. And then it made sense to me a little bit better. So that's why, if you're going to cast a fireball into a room, make sure the room is at the minimum 40 by 40.
And it does give examples of how, taking people's heights and laying them down, just so you can visualize what the area looks like.
Yeah, and the area is huge.
Yeah.
It's ginormous. I mean, 40-foot. It's 20-foot radius, which is a 40-foot diameter. That's a huge blast radius. So,
yeah. So he gets into details by the book, and then he looks at it from his point of view. So definitely look at that article. It'll help visualize it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read through it a couple of times, and I'm like, okay, now I gotta understand what he's saying. And then we got more magic items. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
lots of magic items in this. I love the magic items. They're little gems just to get ideas and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then Nicole, again, she comes up with this article on Emporia and Domiciles, Brandywine House. Basically, it's like a hospital.
Yeah.
Way. So, gives a background on these Brandywine houses, of where you can locate them in your campaign, and who Pard Brandywine is, this little halfling who's a healer, and how he came up with these Brandywine houses, and how they're used for healing. I think it was a pretty cool idea. I don't know if I would use it, but I think it'd just make healing a little bit too accessible. I mean, got clerics and all that, but I could see how you can also, she says, in your own campaign, you can kind of, link these to a particular god of healing, maybe in your campaign world. So it's a pretty good idea. Yeah. At least an idea how maybe a facility in your game world, how like this could exist, and how it would be set up.
Right. And I could see if, say, a lord was at war with another country or something at that point, them organizing a place like this and having a little more formal way to deal with mass casualties, as opposed to just having a bunch of clerics on the front line.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff.
Word.
And then we have a one-page dungeon.
Yeah.
The Dungeon of Doom.
So a little bit of a second edition.
That's okay. It's by Michael Woodhead.
Brian, actually, the chief editor, said that his rule of thumb is if it's convertible easily by looking at it, that he has no problem putting it in the magazine. So you may see sprinkles of second edition in this first edition magazine. So, but nothing more than that as far as going forward edition wise. Only old school, which they consider, I guess, first and before, and a little bit of second.
So the idea I got from this one-page dungeon is basically he challenges adventurers by teleporting them into his one little dungeon. They have to do different tasks in each room to survive.
This almost sounds like some sort of weird game show / reality show for D&D.
Yes, it pretty much is. It's almost like how you described it.
What is the one something castle, the Japanese game show where you have like people?
Takashi's Castle.
Takashi's Castle. This is the D&D equivalent of Takashi's Castle.
Or if I would make it, I'd make it like Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
Yes.
Remember MXC?
Oh, yes,
which was
I do.
a takeoff of Takashi's?
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely has that as well.
With Vic Blankenship and Vic Romano.
Oh, I can actually see it now. You have two like commentators scrying in.
That would be awesome.
Describing to like a theater of what's going on.
All right, he's now doing the loop-de-loop, and now he's getting down into the scary uncle.
They still have that on there, but it's just done a little differently now.
I love MXC. It was so funny.
I forgot what they called it. It was on, what was the G4 channel that's now Esquire now, or whatever.
Yeah. You can watch reruns on YouTube. They got them on there.
Now they're done by two actually American speaking people, English speaking people.
I love the overdub. I thought that made it that much more funny.
Yeah.
And they're all done in America, and you have to get to Vegas as the final competition.
You're talking about the one show. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
American Ninja it's called now. That's it, yes.
Right, yeah, it's not the same. Because
it's still the same thing.
Because with Japanese game shows, they really do not care if they cripple their contestants.
No, they sign a waiver.
Yeah. Or it's like the one game show where they had to be like Human Tetris. They were like on a conveyor belt, and they had these different shaped these walls coming at them with different shaped holes, and they had to contort their bodies to go through the holes. Yeah.
It's just evil. I like it.
Which actually you could throw in something like that too. You have like a moving wall in one of the hallways, and the party has to actually contort through it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they get smashed.
Now,
Hex scroll.
Back to the issue.
Yes.
But I think, in my opinion, the next article is probably my favorite, the Hex Crawls.
You like the Hex Crawls?
I like the Hex Crawls by Andrew Hamilton.
Yeah.
This was probably my favorite part of it. I didn't think I was going to like it at first.
No.
Good. And then reading through it, I'm like, wow, this is really cool detail and just invokes a sense of mystery around these 3 24-mile hexes and everything that's inside them. I just loved it. Gives each hex, he gives a breakdown of the climate. And what Andrew made was out of his own campaign world. And there's a place called Elway in the Burn region. And there's this one hex. There's this town called Elway, and there's this place called the Burn, where it was like a huge section of forest that was burned down. But in some places is still smoldering to this very day. So in this hex, you have a climate breakdown, the terrain topography, the flora, the fauna, how the land is used, the inhabitants, the communities and economy, and features of note. So it breaks down everything there on each of these different hexes, and there's a lot of stuff just going on in one hex. Then he goes on to the next one, the Sedges Crossing region, and the breakdown there. And then you have one more hex he does, the Lonely Road, and breaks down everything there and how all they're connected. And there's one more, the North Davin Downs region. So there's 4 24-mile hexes that he broke down, all of this different stuff that's going on. And it makes you think about what could be going on, like if your own campaign setting, in just a few hexes, you could just cram so much stuff in a small area of a campaign world. It's just amazing. It made me think about that. It's like, wow, you know what? I don't have to make a huge map of a whole like continent. I could just take one little section and detail it, like, you know, something that he did here, and we can have months and months of adventuring going on. So I just thought this is my favorite part of the whole issue right here, these hex crawls. And I'm going to have to say I might have to use this stuff somewhere in a game in the future, these hex crawls that Andrew made. So I don't know. What did you think, Vince?
I'm not a big person with the hex crawls, but after reading his descriptions and looking at the maps, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. You were probably like me, like, I'm not sure if I'm going to really like this. Yeah,
I'm not really a big person for hex crawls, but then he broke it down and wrote it so that I would understand it and think, hey, maybe I can use this.
Yeah, and there's some really cool stuff here. Like I said, like about that place called the Burn. He said this burned over forest had refused to grow for a century. Travelers still claim to see flickering flames, smoke, and figures moving in the distance. Few expeditions led by druids have failed to return from the Burn. Common folk avoid the place. So, I mean, that just gives you ideas of a DM, like, oh, figures? I wonder what they could be. I could, and just run with it. Just go with it. So there's some really good, cool stuff in there.
Yeah, they're not just like 24 miles of terrain. They actually have a whole backstory. And when I was first read it, I didn't think of them as like just like a hex crawl trouncing through the wilderness. I thought of these as more like 4 different just parts of a campaign setting.
Yeah.
That's really what they are. It's not just like describing some like the natural environment people are traveling through. No,
there's some detail.
Yeah, this feels like it was like stripped from like Forgotten Realms or something of that nature. And you can kind of see how, well, if you take this hex and you can almost start making an overlapping story arc just using the 4 hexes and flesh out an entire world.
Yeah, these 4 hexes apparently are from Andrew's own game world, from what I understand.
Right.
So
yeah, and you get a feel for that from the detail he put in this, and so
yeah, absolutely,
it's good stuff. And actually, I would be interested in seeing more hexes from it.
Yeah, I am too. So, and there's a couple more magic items that were at the end of the issue, and that's pretty much it. Overall, great issue.
Well, there's still, for further reading by Ronald Redman, the promoter, the promotion manager. He does give a bunch of links about this whole entire magazine, such as different Dragon magazines you can look at for Urban Adventure, various sites that talk about it with modules and settings, different forum topics, random city generators, things like that.
Yeah. It's their Appendix N for this issue.
Yes.
And then where you can find N Magazine on the net, including our forums at osrgaming.org, is where their home is. They have some pen and paper games. They have a thread, first edition AD&D Yahoo group.
Even Usenet.
Yeah, Usenet. I was surprised at that. I haven't seen people use Usenet in a long time.
Yeah. I only use alt.binaries when I do.
And then we have finally one final word from Nicole Massey, Treading Softly, talking about this issue compared to everything else in the past. Oh, and then we have the map of featured just random map number 2 Temple Tomes and Towers. And that's it. Give us a preview for issue 9 and actually issue 10 as well. So they got their ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So final thoughts, starting with you, Nick.
Outstanding issue. I can't say anything else about it. It was amazing. All the stuff that was packed in here.
Yeah.
And they've really come a long way. And it just seems like it's getting better and better.
Yeah. That's a great magazine. And if you checked it out at first and just didn't feel like it was your thing, it's time to come back and actually try in magazine again, because there's just so much good stuff. The layout and the presentation is just top notch. I mean, like we've said earlier, this could easily be a print magazine in the way it's formatted and laid out. And as for the content, even if you're not running urban campaigns, there's still stuff in here. Just the random magic items, they're great.
Yeah.
All the new spells, tons of new spells. I mean, and who doesn't like more spells? And then there's an exploding snowball.
Yeah.
Exploding snowball. Enough said.
Matt will be talking about that one for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. I'll just start randomly throwing in a giant snowball and see if my players are dumb enough to walk near it with a torch.
Overall, I'm saying I love it. I love N Magazine since I found it, since I've talked to them. I enjoy speaking to all the staff constantly. If you've downloaded it, looked at it, because I've seen a lot of people said they've downloaded it, just went meh. It's free. Take a look at it. Take 5 minutes out of your busy schedule and just take a look at it. Do them a favor and just take a look at it. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything to look.
Right.
And hey, maybe you'll walk out of there with something for your game.
Right.
So I guess that's going to wrap up the show this week.
I think so.
For our issue 138, right?
Yeah, 138.
Matt, insert number here.
Yes. Issue 138, where we talk about N Magazine 8.
That's right. We've gotten so lazy that I just do issue blah, 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 and give Matt a whole bunch of numbers, and he just inserts them in.
Right. So as of right now, thanks to Vincent and his pre-recording, I have everything for issue 999.
Will we get up to issue 999? No one will know. Maybe issue 666.
Ooh.
No, I don't know if we're going to get that.
Our
666.
special Satan issue.
Yeah, that would take us 10 years to get there.
You're right.
The rate we're going. But, yeah, so rfistaff@gmail.com, 570-865-4210, the hotline, rfipodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter, RFI Podcast, for show announcements. You can find us on Google Plus at RFI Podcast by searching the communities. And that's about it. If you find us on Facebook, feel free to add us, and we will gladly talk and chat with you, no problem.
You bet.
Other than that, keep original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.
The Roll for Initiative podcast is a production of Wild Games Productions in association with D20Radio.com. You can visit us at rfipodcast.com or contact us on our forums at osrgaming.org or even by calling us at 570-865-4210. This podcast is produced for entertainment purposes only. All other uses are prohibited. And remember, if your magic missile spell doesn't automatically hit, you're playing the wrong edition. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative.